Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with an arena update for one of my go-to decks, the Monument to the Menagerie. This is a combo deck that utilizes Rhonas Monument paired with the Vizier of Menagerie to go through your entire deck. Well, actually, efficiently go through your deck, cast a lot of creature spells, give something +2/+2 and trample every time you cast a creature spell, and then just outvalue and beef up your creatures compared to what your opponents are doing. So I've played this deck quite a bit in the past. There have been some updates to this deck though, so I thought I'd showcase them out and end up doing a league with it. I thought I might as well tape the league matchups I do. I try to play arena at least the daily, one league a day to finish off the dailies, and then choose a deck accordingly, because right now the dailies are still quite boring. It's like today I have 2 of them that require casting green spells. So of course we're going to go to the go-to green deck. I highly suggest, if you do play arena, to build a deck of at least each color. So you have a black deck, a blue deck, a white deck, a red deck, and a green deck, so that you can finish off those particular dailies without having to refresh them and possibly getting one that's not as valuable. So anyway, this is the still a go-to deck. I ran this at Standard Showdown last week. Did very well with it. Last league I did, I went 7-0 with this deck, and it is just really, really potent, really powerful versus red at the moment. So both the either the vehicles, red-black vehicles deck, or the mono-red Hazoret, this deck does compete very well against it, and it can compete against other green decks. I think that green is my favorite matchup, like the traditional Stompy list using the Steel Leaf Champions, because I think this deck just goes over the top of it with the amount of value that it is able to produce. So it's not terrible against control decks. Scarab God decks can be a little bit frustrating to play against, but a lot of times you can also tempo your opponent in those type of matchups as well. Vraska's Contempt can give this deck, again, some issue, because you do need to have a Vizier of the Menagerie stick or apply enough pressure to be able to push through the amount of removal your opponent has. So the Wreckage is another card that can be very, very frustrating to play against. But anyway, enough about that. Let's go down the deck tech. I'll go over it again, even though you might have seen this deck before. We've cut red completely. I think that gives us a worse matchup versus both red and control, but gives us a better, more smooth matchup versus the rest of the field. So let me show you the old deck before we actually get into the new deck. So let's come over here to the old red version. The red version was only running Samut of Voice of Dissent for the red splash in here, because the Flash, Double Strike, Vigilance, and Haste. Vigilance not so much, but the Haste, Double Strike, and Flash were huge in this deck, and giving all of your other creatures haste had a neat little pairing with Rishkar and +1/+1 counters to allow anything like Merfolk Branchwalkers to then be able to tap mana for mana. The turn they come out into play, or just attack in. But usually with Merfolk Branchwalker, they'd come out, get a +1/+1 counter, and then you'd be able to tap it to cast something else off the top of your library. You have the Monument, then you can give something +2/+2. In this case, it'd usually be Samut, and Samut could easily just take over the game. I can't tell you the amount of times against red decks where red would tap out on their turn 5, and then we would, on our turn, well, it'd be either our turn 5 and turn their turn 5, or our turn 5, slam a Samut and then just win if we have a Rhonas Monument out, as it reduces the cost for it. We can then cast a few other creatures after that, and then have the 20 points of damage on board with the Double Strike and the +2/+2 with Rhonas. However, it leaves for some really weird draws, because there are only 5 red sources. The Vizier of Menagerie can cast the Samut, but in this case, the 5 sources, you get stuck with a lot of Samuts in hand. So I thought about dropping it and utilizing the Scrylands and the Memorials from Dominaria to see if that can actually smooth out the draws. So that's kind of a look at the old deck. Very much similar. I haven't changed it besides dropping Samut and adding a little more lands. Ghalta also paired up extremely well with Samut, as another creature you flash in Samut end of turn, and then cast Ghalta on your turn, and then swing in for just insane amounts of damage with the hasty Ghalta that your opponents a lot of times aren't expecting. So let's go over to the new version of the deck. It is running the exact same copies of the Llanowar Elves, the Ixalli's Diviner, the Merfolk Branchwalker, the Wildgrowth Walker, Jadelight Ranger, Olive, and a Foros, because this is our Explore package. This is either the ramp with the Llanowar Elves to try to get a turn to Rhonas Monument, which is probably the strongest thing you can do in this deck, is go turn 1 Llanowar Elves, turn 2 Rhonas Monument, and then turn 3 just completely unload your hand. You can even, at that point, even pump up the Llanowar Elves and swing in for like 5 or even 7 damage on the turn 3, and not even need to tap the Llanowar Elves for mana at that point. Then we have the value cards in this deck, which I'm going to call the Armorcraft Judge. This is a new addition. Since we're using a lot of +1/+1 cards with +1/+1 counters on it, this one will draw a card for each one of them. A lot of times you'll draw 3, 4, 5 cards with this to try to find that Vizier the Menagerie. Vizier Menagerie is a look at the top card of your library card you can cast if it's a creature, so it also pairs very well with Explore cards, as exploring gets those lands off the top of your library, so then you can cast more creatures off the top. Rishkar, talked about this one, puts +1/+1 counters on creatures, so working with the Explore package, this also turns them all into mana dorks. So then on our finishers would be the last part of this deck, a 1 of Ghalta, a 1 of Cultivator of Blades, because this is the go big, the go wide, and then the Rhonas is kind of another, it's kind of both a go wide and a go big. So we have a mix of each of those with 1 Rhonas, 1 Cultivator of Blades, and 1 Ghalta. That's really all the deck needs. A lot of your other deck cards can just be finishers because of Rhonas Monument, being able to give something +2/+2 and trample. When that's paired with the Vizier of Menagerie, there are oftentimes you can get a creature massive on 1 turn and swing in. The Wildgrowth Walker is also a card that can get quite substantial, quite large in this deck with the amount of Explore cards. So other than that, we're just running the lands of 10 forests, 4 Hashep Oasis, 4 Memorial of Unity, and 4 Zhalfirin Void. This card helps you scry towards finding the Vizier or the Rhonas, and the Memorial of Unity also helps you try to find the Vizier of the Menagerie, or at that point it can find you late game any card. So the utility lands, I think, pair up pretty well in this particular deck. So I haven't even messed with the sideboard in this deck. I just kind of cloned it. But if you are going to play this in like a real non-arena type event for a 3 matchup game, I would actually go up in the Heroic Intervention. I just don't have the wild cards to spend on Heroic Interventions at the moment. Kind of stuck. I don't want to spend money on Arena and Beta, so we're kind of stuck with the rares at the moment. With as many decks I built, I run out of rares quite fast, so I do have the 1 Heroic Intervention. This should probably be 3 instead of the Blossoming Defenses. And then we have 4 Deathgorge Scavengers, helps you get rid of problematic cards out of graveyards. The Lifecrafter's Bestiary. This is a card that allows you to scry per turn and draw. Every time you cast a creature spell, you can see the synergies there. And then Reclamation Sage. This is a great addition from M19, as you can destroy those pesky... they've got like a cast down or a cast out on your Vizier. This is something you can get it back with Reclamation Sage, and it feels a lot better than having to kill it with like something like Thrashing Brontosaur, and it has an easier mana cost to cast than the double on the Thrashing Brontosaur, because a lot of times you want your green sources, because you don't want to spend excess green sources, because it's reducing those Merfolk Branchwalkers and Wildgrowth Walkers but down to 1. And so a Thrashing Brontosaur can a lot of times mean 1 less, and you have to do 1 to activate it to destroy that enchantment. It's kind of a feels bad card. You leave back a body with Reclamation Sage that can be pumped up later. And then 2 of Ghalta's, just because when this card is good, it's really good. So I think that Ghalta is a nice card to have in the sideboard. I don't know if my standard, my paper has a different sideboard. I think it does. I think there's a few other cards. I think I've got like the new Planeswalker Vivian in the sideboard. I think Vivian would actually be a pretty good... Hey, I actually do have one, so I'm gonna cut a Ghalta and put a Vivian here. Or actually, I don't know, maybe cut a Blossoming Defense. But this would be a good card just to throw in here, because I think Vivian does everything this deck wants to do. I've had Karn in this spot before. You can destroy a creature, or store an artifact, enchantment, or creature flying. Those are everything we have trouble with. If you get up to Emblem, it's going to make your go wide strategy very viable with Vigilance, Trample, and Indestructible. And it's just really a +1, just helps find that Vizier the Menagerie. So anyway, that's a good card for the sideboard. All right, so let's go ahead and cue this up here. Yep, we'll save the changes here with the Vivian, since we do have the 1 of Vivian. And we're going to do a quick constructed with the Rhonas Monument to the Memorial, or Memorial, whatever you want to call this deck, and see how well it pairs up. Again, I've had a lot of success with the red decks because the Wildgrowth Walker is very key, and a lot of times you can just go bigger than your opponent. The Ixalli's Diviner is also really, really potent. There's a rumor about MTG Arena. Someone can confirm it in the comment section that you get paired up against decks that are similar rather than ratings that are similar. I've heard that from many people. That I don't know if it's in the Quick Construct or not, but I've been noticing a lot less tier decks lately, and I'm still the same rating I actually was up to. The rating's tough to get. Gold 4 is pretty easy to maintain. Gold 3, I went 4 and 3 in one of the leagues, and it dropped me an entire rank from Gold 3 all the way to Gold 4 with no bars. Or no level, whatever you want to call the progress tracker. So anyway, we'll start off with the Memorial to Unity. Memorial to Unity is a pretty decent turn 1 play, as this allows us to then later on use our excess mana to find what we need. Like, typically I don't like this hand with a 3 that doesn't pump into anything, a Rhonas, and that second Rhonas' Monument is just plain awful. But again, this Memorial is a lot different than in the red version, having a Rootbound Crag right there and really nothing to do with it. Unfortunately, our opponent is on Grixis, which is one of the harder matchups if it is the kind of stock Grixis Scarab God, and there's like it's Scarab God and the I'm trying to think of the card that flashes back a card, the instant card. I can't think right now. Apologies. Did not get any sleep last night and then went hiking in the morning, so I am pretty much spent. Rhonas Monument sticks, which is a good sign because this allows us to go crazy. Could get abraded. If it does get abraded, we'll just cast another one. So, Hardacran. Alright, that's fine. When it rains, it pours. We get another Rhonas Monument. So here, we'll just try to dig for... I'm going to do Rishkar, I think, after. And at this point, I think we can Graveyard the Wildgrowth Walker. And Rhonas is going to come out. Unfortunately, the Jadelight Ranger did not get big enough for Rhonas to attack in, but hopefully Rishkar can... come into play untapped here. We'll probably see like a Chandra here. I don't know. But Grixis with Hardacran. Yeah, I think that's still the go-to stock list, is that they're still playing the artifact. What's the blue in here for? I'm just thinking this is a flashback Vraska's Contempt / Unlicensed Disintegration, a little bit heavier on the control aspect. So Hardacran's not nearly as good in this deck as it is in like a red, black, or white, red vehicles. Vraska's Contempt takes care of our poor dude. So now we have to try to win just by out-aggroing our opponent. So we'll cast the Diviner first, or Diviner, however you say this card's. Probably Diviner, that's the name of it. Find another land. Thankfully, though, Rishkar can put a counter on it, so it's actually useful. So we'll Rishkar here. And swinging for 7. Which is not a terrible play, but we got 2 dead cards, unfortunately, with those monuments. That is the one troublesome part of this deck, is you can't ditch them either. Unless you see them on top of your library. And man, we had to draw them rather than find them off Explorer cards. Alright, so again, our opponent does seem kind of slow to get going. But once they get their Gear Hulk, they can flash back that Vraska's Contempt. I'm pretty sure that's what this deck is. It utilizes maybe Karn and Chandra, or Liliana, I bet. And Hardacran just is something that can be crewed with a Planeswalker. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Hardacran unless it has like Scrap Heap Scroungers and ways to utilize it. Well, we are getting flooded. At least this one scries away. Hopefully like a Rhonas Monument off the top so we don't have to see another one. Jadelight Ranger we're going to keep on top. I think Jadelight's fine. So I can actually we can crack the Monument and cast the Jadelight Ranger. I think that's the correct play. So I probably should have cracked before I voided. Maybe not. Because we could have scried a card away that we didn't want. Armorcraft Judge is actually really good here. Can't cast it this turn, though. We can wait a turn. Jadelight Ranger can actually find it on top. So, no, because these will go to the bottom. So I think we want to go Armorcraft Judge. But our opponent is Jadelight's something we can cast this turn, though. I'm going to go Armorcraft. And then we're going to attempt to cast it, because we can't actually cast it this turn. See if it gets countered. So Jadelight Ranger is where we want the plus to go. So if our opponent does kill a Jadelight Ranger, we still draw 2 cards and attack in for 3, and don't lose like a key piece in Rishkar. Metallic Rebuke, and we do not have, but I mean that's going to hurt with my opponent. See if a Braid comes out on the Jadelight Ranger now too, or Harness Lightning. Yeah, I just don't know what my opponent's thinking of doing with the Heart of Karan with all this control. So Heart of Karan is just going to sit back and look stupid for many turns, which is exactly where I don't want the card to be if I'm playing it. I mean, it worked with the Metallic Rebuke there, but Down to a 12. Unfortunately, though, my opponent is in still good shape card-wise and then can cast a Gear Hulk. So it's kind of tough to attack in at this point, and who knows. Possibly maybe should have just attacked in there rather than cast anything and waited a turn, but that seems bad. Tezzeret the Schemer is another. So what is Tezzeret going to do? Creates a colorless token. And that is how Heart of Karan. Still though, I do not like this addition in the deck. Unfortunately, we get one of the worst cards imaginable for our deck. But it can pump up the Rishkar. And see if our opponent has yet again another removal spell. License Disintegration. Just pure removal and a random Heart of Karan. Alright, so can't quite kill Tezzeret if I attack in, but I still think it's worth it to at least try to do some damage. Yeah, these 2 Rhonas Monuments I think is going to be the difference between winning and losing this game. This doesn't happen that often this deck with drawing into those after we... A lot of times, I mean, have just a likelihood of exploring into them and throwing them in the graveyard. But we're going for Tezzeret. At least dumb it down to a point where it just has to keep plussing. I don't like going this direction. So Tezzeret's down to a 2, which is significant because, yeah, it can't use its negative now. We are sort of in top deck. Oh, Karn, yep. All Planeswalkers and Heart.
Let us begin.
And this, I'm pretty sure opponent just pluses Karn. Could actually put out a construct and an Ethereum token. Okay, that is, oh, yeah, that's decent.
More power for me.
Going the construct route, see if they want to accrue the Heart. Nope. We get one of the more powerful cards here with the Jadelight because it can actually find some stuff in our graveyard. But, I mean, we really can't do much after this fact, and I can't even attack in with the Diviner, and I can't find anything with the Jadelight. So this is really to dig to Vizier, and hopefully we find the Vizier. Unfortunately, we're actually low on the lands now that we had to sack 2 of them, and again, stuck with these 2 Rhonas Monument. We put that in the graveyard, and I guess Merfolk Branchwalker can be library because it can help us get further again, but there's no point attacking in because it just gets crewed, and, well, do you know what? We get attacking with both. But then it just, that dies. Yeah, because we could force off a block. And at least get in for 1. This could be disastrous, though, if my opponent does have a removal spell. Now, we still don't lose the Divine. Yeah, so I think we actually do. So, both these are going to go for Karn. And that will probably force off a block on the... And we'll get in for 1 damage. No, they can just do the Heart of Karan. And so... with the crewing, so that's bad. Forgot that you can crew, which is a loyalty counter. So these stupid Rhonas Monuments in 3-0. So we found a lot of times, you know, we still haven't found a Menagerie, but at 19 cards we found a ton of Rhonas Monuments. And a Pienalar. Unfortunately, we just have a Branchwalker next turn, so I don't know if this is... If Karn pluses again, I think we're just pretty much toast. Alright. Karn does... Let's see if my opponent decides to go on the offensive with Hardacran and...
You should just concede.
Kills the Jadelight Ranger. Yep. Well, I probably should just concede, Tezzeret. Thank you for saying that I should just concede. Because that's... We lost to the 3-color nonsense deck. And Vizier and Menagerie are bust here. Well, we can still scry towards one. So I guess that's actually better than having a Vizier. Now we need a Vizier on top. We do not want a Wildgrowth Walker. We'll put it on the bottom. And we'll end the turn here. So Karn can't plus next turn. But, again, we're in terrible shape with 2 5/5s attacking in plus a 4/4. Tezzeret pumps up. Karn forces a draw. And at that point, I think that anything is good. My opponent hasn't drawn a land in a while. There's the Sulphur Falls. We'll throw the Sulphur Falls to my opponent. Gets another Ethereum to make these 6/6s. Yeah, next card I believe has to be a Vizier the Menagerie. And if we do get the Vizier Menagerie, we'll have potentially a lot of cards, but then the Whirler Virtuoso is going to add a lot of Thopters to block. So, yeah, I don't see us... In fact, my opponent probably should make a Thopter token and attack in. And at that point, I think I need to block with at least the Diviner. Otherwise, we fall to lethal. Surprised the Thopter token's not coming out here. I guess the Thopter token come out at instant speed. Kind of weird that my opponent didn't decide to attack with a bunch of 6/6s, but yep, that is going to be a game. Too many monuments. Again, that is one of the downsides of playing the deck, is they're bad in multiples because they are legendary. But the likelihood of that is not very high. The deck does a very decent job of being able to handle duplicates if they're on the top of your library, then either scrying them away or throwing them away with Explore. So... Okay, so I think this is keepable because we do have the hand that I really like here. Unfortunately, it is kind of low on the land, so if we do just get... Okay, we're going up against a green deck too, so and opponent has a Llanowar Elves. So, like I said, when it rains, it pours. We have a triple Armorcraft Judge that is not where I want to be. And there's the turn 2 Steel Leaf. So we can get out of this quite easily, though, with the Rhonas Monument. However, I might take a pretty big hit here before I can actually even block the turn 2 Steel Leaf. The turn 2 Steel Leaf is the problem. We need to find a Wildgrowth Walker. I'm down to a 14. My opponent puts out another Steel Leaf. Hardacran. Every deck has that card in it, doesn't it? There's a... Speak of the devil. The devil, you say? We definitely want the Jadelight Ranger on top. Oh, okay. That's really good. So that does Wildgrowth Walker. And we're going to go Rishkar. And I think I'm going to put a +1 counter on, yeah, Rishkar and the Elf, because this allows us to draw more cards. And we'll get in for 6. So we're right on par with our opponent. We have a Jadelight Ranger coming out next turn, which will hopefully find us some lands, because then we can cast the Armorcraft Judge. And we are taking the damage from the Jadelight Ranger. Opponent needs to kill this Wildgrowth Walker. It does not. This is going to be really good play here. As there's the first one, we graveyard that. And I think we library the... Yeah. And do I want to tack in with these? No, I don't. This is good time. Draw on the Armorcraft Judge. And pump up our Wildgrowth Walker to a 7/9. We draw a ton of cards here. We have not played a land yet. Our opponent scoops it up. As then we drew it, and then we'd actually do be able to cast that Diviner that turn, and then swing in for 9. So there you have it. There's when the deck actually goes crazy. This is why I like white and green decks, especially because they give you time to kind of set up what you're doing, and you do that the value route a lot better than your opponents do. So again, the removal, heavy removal, Grixis is one of the harder matchups just because the amount of removal most of those Grixis decks runs is so high. But Grixis is pretty terrible right now in the meta, in my opinion, and at least in arena meta with all the red running around. That seems to be, if they stumble on any of those lands, the red decks just win. Unfortunately, I don't think I can keep this. I know I go first. I can scry with it, but if it was a force, I could keep it. That's one of the problems with running the Void. Is we do... Or that's one less land we can go first turn Llanowar Elves. So I don't know if I could keep the first turn. Oh, this is a very similar hand. Vizier Menagerie unfortunately needs to stay on top. I don't like it at the moment. However, it's acceptable. Next turn we have a Jadelight Ranger that can dig. And if our elf gets killed, we actually just still have a Diviner that can dig. So we're in decent shape. Seen better days. There's another green. Or another... Alright, Jadelight Ranger here, finding me some lands. I'm actually going to graveyard the Ghalta. And I'll top the Jadelight Ranger, though. It can dig me even further. And it's a 4/3. Alright, so that's going to be the... Gonna kill myself with these Oasis triggers. In all honesty, I'm gonna library both of those because I know what I have in hand, and I'm playing against a green deck, so this is one of the key cards to beat other green decks is going to be the Wildgrowth. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I'm going against a Pummer deck, though. Then I have 16 damage on, or 2 attacks in just to win with the Jadelight. And next turn, the... Ooh. Grow from the Ashes. This is going to find one card in play tap, though. So, yeah, my opponent's got to play something big next turn. So, that might be going for the Hour of Promise, so I might not even end up casting. Ah, this is weird. Magma Spray. Okay, that makes things different. I don't know if my opponent is going for... I'm just going to kill myself with these Oasises. Again, my opponent has to answer. Next turn has to put out something to take care of Jadelights. So it's got to be an Hour of Devastation is what I can think of. So land, Hour of Devastation, go. And then at that point we'll probably lose, though. Maybe I should have explored further away. Sometimes you can throw the Vizier, the Menagerie away, but you know, I'm living life risky. The Oasis is weird, though. I'm thinking it's some sort of Hour of Promise deck, though, that still wants to run. It's probably a Gift of Growth. Yeah, Gift of Paradise. Puts up to 11. But for 2 mana, 3 mana now, with the Ipnu Rivulet. Yeah, this is an Hour of Promise deck. And a Spring. So, unfortunately, my opponent is going to survive by 1. That sucks. Because I can't even draw out of it. There's a Rhonas Monument. Still can't. I'm going to graveyard this one. Because we need these lands. And let's just hope there's not an Hour of Promise in hand. Or an Hour of Devastation. But man, we've gone through no land, no land, no land. I guess I've known what my draws are though, so it's my own fault for kind of keeping those. And that mulligan was really, really rough. Heaven, and then can my opponent actually get it 4 mana? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, there's perfect mana there. Perfect 4. Womp womp, heaven to earth. Still can't draw that dreaded land. We're never going to get there. Oh my goodness! I think we've lost this one. 2 for 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 2 lands and 11 non-lands. So it has to answer this diviner here. Our Promise, we saw that one coming, unfortunately. So it's going to put out 2 zombies. They come into play untapped. And there's no way I'm getting through it. So hopefully draw a land and then have Rhonas Monument. However, now we're in the realm of Spring coming back to draw our opponent out of it. So that's what these deserts are just in here for, is to make sure they get the 2/2s. Finally, we hit the Rhonas Monument. Is there a negate that's just sitting in my opponent's hand? No, okay. So next turn we have some nice little trample that can hit on our opponent's card if we get another land too. It's the diviner can get up to. Yes, there is just a Radma Braid in our opponent's hand. Okay. Womp womp. Looks like Spring is going to be flashbacked here. Nope, just another Spring. So my opponent still needs to draw a card, like a finisher, if it's like Gishoth or... I don't know exactly what their go-to win cons are these days. And we do not hit another land. Surprise, surprise. We'll put out another diviner. There's our land. Fortunately, I think we're going to be running into some lands after this now that we still probably do want to hit land drops off Vizier. Is this Spring or Mind an instant? It is an instant. So opponent gets to fill up their hand with 2 more cards. We're stuck with that 1 life. Oh, so close. So close. But I think that so far on this loss, too, everything had to go wrong. Both our losses, everything had to go wrong for us and everything right for our opponents. The double Rhonas Monument, the mulligan, and getting stuck on lands on this game are the difference between both of those games. So, again, any one other card any other way. Not having the Magma Spray. Yep, I knew it. Now the lands are going to come. See if my opponent runs random counter spells in this deck, too. And we have the 4th diviner. Hey, we don't have to draw another one after this next draw. The Vizier does survive an Abrade. However, my opponent is now literally filling back up to 7 cards at the end of this turn in the draw. Or nope, going up to 6. And has a lot less lands and Gift of Paradises to draw into, so it's pretty much gas at this point. A tapped land. And another Gift of Paradise. All right, spoke too soon. Back up to 7 life. See if another Heaven to Earth comes and wipes my board. I wonder if this is some sort of Crucible of Worlds control deck, too. So they use the Ipni Rivulets just to mill. Always nice to be playing against a brew. Looks like another Hour of Promise? No. Probably a gift of... Oh, Sifter Worm. That's going to be the win con. And going to scry 3 to then show a Spring to Mind, which, yeah, definitely gains a ton more life. The good news is, like, life is... land on top. At least we can get it off with the Diviner. And we gotta draw a whopping 1 card off the Armorcraft Judge, which finds yet another land. And there's another Armorcraft Judge. However, Armorcraft Judge is not where we want to be with no counters. So the Rishkars have already been spent. There's 2 in the graveyard, I believe. No, there's no Rishkar. That was last game. But we found a ton of our Explore cards found lands instead of cards. So opponent looks like they're going to cast another Hour of Promise, finding even more lands. And at this point, zombies, and it's getting quite scary the way that they can pump up the Sifter Worm. So the good news is we have a lot of lands. If we find another Rhonas Monument, we definitely could go off on 1 turn. Because at this point, we have a lot of mana available. And there's the Spring. One can actually even cast the Mind. And there's a Rhonas. So let's actually Z out of this. We want to use our Oasises. Unfortunately, Z is not working. Maybe there's a new key that's supposed to undo. There's a Rhonas. Awesome. Unfortunately, it cannot attack or block here. My opponent does have Commit, which is a way to fill up my opponent's hand to 7. I think that we're gonna put Rhonas in the graveyard because I can't cast at the moment. And we have a Monument next turn. And no attackers. So see if my opponent does decide to do Memory. Either that or Spring to Mind, but Spring to Mind seems pretty bad. So I don't know how much my opponent can go off on 1 turn. Nope, gonna go Mind, so that's not gonna be Memory. Memory is... I was pretty certain my opponent was going to Memory, so Rhonas Monument off the top would be the right play. Like, I kind of do want Rhonas Monument itself, or Rhonas the Indomitable, because it is a tough card for my opponent to deal with once it's out. I gotta think like another Hour of Devastation is coming, or another Heaven to Earth. It looks like another Hour of Promise. No. Another Sifter Worm. Wish my opponent would learn how to tap lands quicker, though. Ugh. Sandworm Convergence. That's going to put us on a clock for sure. But we'll have the combo next turn unless there's an Abrade in hand. So, unfortunately, we have that land on top. All right, see if we can go crazy here. we're going to pump up the Armorcraft Judge. And we just drew 3 lands. Lovely. Okay, so I'm not going to attack in. We'll just pass a turn. Not certain I can win, but it's going to be tough for my opponent to win with this, the worms as well. Like, there will be a turn next turn if this Rhonas Monument survives that we literally can go through our entire deck. Unfortunately, 2 of our cards that win this are in our graveyard. The Rhonas Monument and the Ghalta. And our opponent has a mess, just a massive amount of Hour of Devastation. Alright, I've seen enough there. I don't think I can win now. Well, I could have actually Vizier Menagerie next turn. I cast it. Yeah, I've seen enough there. Alright. 2 losses. Ugh. Got our opponent down to a 1 life. See if we can hit like a nice combination of lands and creatures this time, not stuck on all or the other. And they can sequence nicely, not runs of creatures and runs of lands. That's what we want to hit. It's keepable. We're on the draw, I believe. So, throwing Memorial of Unity and then into a Merfolk Branchwalker seems okay, or just double Memorial. Oh, we're on the play actually. Thought we were on the draw. So Memorial of Unity is fine here. And we can decide. I'd rather just play the other Memorial of Unity. Beaumont Courier. This might switch my play up. Like, if I draw a Llanowar Elf, that's what I'll do another Memorial of Unity. Because I want to get these tap lands out of the way. Yeah, I definitely want Memorial now. Unfortunately, see, this is going to be the point where if these would have been forest, I would have been fine. Because the first turn Beaumont Courier is a tough draw to beat if I'm not putting out any action. We don't actually have the Wildgrowth Walker either. I'm going to be taking 3 this turn. I get kind of a weak card out in the form of the Jadelight Ranger. It can then just be beat down or shocked down or lightning strike down. Oh, beautiful card. Oh, I don't know. I think... So we're going to put the Llanowar Elf on the bottom, and we're going to play this differently. I know that if this card survives a turn, I'm going to go the more risky route and hopefully hit a land, just so we can get this Wildgrowth Walker up to a 2/4. So I don't want my Wildgrowth Walker to get lightning striked or wizard lightninged. And we actually found us 2 lands. That's awesome. So next turn I have hopefully an uninterrupted Wildgrowth Walker with Merfolk Branchwalker. And then that's a pretty decent little play. Unfortunately, Beaumont Courier is going to have 3 counters on it, and that might just be enough to have us lose the game. We can go 3-1 with this deck this time. Ugh. Well, Pyromancer ended up being not the card, so if we would have gone Wildgrowth Walker, we'd have a stronger play here. Beaumont Courier I will block if it attacks in. I cannot be letting it fill back up the hand. Unfortunately, a Shock or a Wizard Lightning can also kill the Jadelight Ranger. And my opponent needs to target me with that Vinish unit. There you go. And see if a Shock comes down. Or let's see if my opponent just times out their timer. Already does not have a timeout here either. Yep, okay. So, Beaumont Courier means that Beaumont Courier can fill back up the hand. Unfortunately, I think even with this, we're going to be too far out. The good news is the Wildgrowth Walker can gain us some life this turn. We do not want to hit any more of these memorials. Don't want them in runs of 3, Dak. I told you, no runs. Don't listen to me. Never listen to me, Dak. Wildgrowth Walker into a Merfolk Branchwalker. Gains us at least that 3 life. At this point, I'm going to graveyard it. Oh no, this is actually pretty strong. No, I want some other Explore cards. So I have to worry about a double Wizard Lightning on the Wildgrowth Walker. I need to kill this Beaumont Courier. It's getting blocked, hopefully no matter what. Opponent is burned a Shock. That's one of the ways to kill it, but has a handful of cards. If they even run out of card this turn, I'm going to have a harder time blocking the Beaumont without Beaumont getting 4 cards back. So I really, really, really need to hit some more Explore cards, get us back up to a healthy life total. Yes, so that is what my opponent's doing, is just attacking the Bohemot Courier. It means there's some garbage cards in my opponent's hand. They are going to trade those garbage cards with... Yes. So let's see what they were. Land, land, and land. Ugh. Means that my opponent's going to have mostly gas left. However, it would take a double Wizard Lightning or a Lightning Strike and a Shock to kill the Wildgrowth Walker. My opponent got in for no damage this turn. We can follow it up next turn with either an Armorcraft Judge, which is the card that I'm most likely leaning towards, over a Vizier the Menagerie. Lightning Strike me, I think that's a bad choice. We have another worthless land, so I think we need to dig towards a... Okay, we can do this in a couple ways. So I can go Rishkar, and then we can tap the Rishkar to tap Rishkar to have an Armorcraft Judge, and that gives it. And then okay, that's actually, yeah, we can tap these two. I think that's actually a better route. So we're gonna go Oasis, and then I'm going to Rishkar. Get those above where they... And this will draw us 3 cards. And we did not find another Explore card. Ugh. Today is just not going well. However, we do have a lot of mana left over. Chandra is actually pretty decent, but also not the most sustainable card. Could pump plus Chandra, could actually kill a Rishkar, and then swing to get in for 2 damage. Can actually kill Rishkar, Wizard Lightning, and swing in for 4. At that point, though, they lose Chandra, and then we can get out some other cards.
If you play with fire, you're gonna get burned.
Interesting play there. That just absorbed. Yeah, that was pretty good. My opponent can't keep Chandra alive next turn. Alright, so we're going to Void to try to find something off the top. We want some more Wildgrowth Walkers. Ghalta comes out here. I'm actually going to go with the Vizier. Branchwalker is fine to keep on top, just because it's something that's easy to cast. So I want to attack everything into Chandra. So there's our Rhonas Monument for next turn. So I think we do just attack into Chandra. Because we have 2 blockers on the block. And then we can get a lot of cards. So combat. I could go... Yeah, I think we need to all go into Chandra. And, okay, my opponent's bar went all the way down, yet it gives my opponent a whole new bar. My opponent can double block and kill one of them at the expense of Rishkar, but I have a backup Rishkar. I think Chandra has to die here. I can't have my opponent drawing a card next turn off Chandra, because my opponent only has 2 cards in hand. I don't think the 2 cards can do 11 damage. So, yeah, there'll be 3 cards. So Chandra is priority to kill here. And opponent's going to let their time clock... Okay, Wizard's Lightning, though, still does what I want it to do. It takes a card, and if the block's on the Vice, Pyromancers, then My opponent has no way to attack in, and only has a lot less cards. So Chandra is a priority. Chandra still, though, has to hit a non-land off the top. So we're in great shape. No blockers from my opponent next turn. We have a Rhonas Monument that's coming down. It's probably going to be lethal at this point. Chain Whirler's not threatening. Hazoret's not threatening. My opponent played a land. We know that's not going to be a thing. So I'm thinking of any scenarios that can happen here. No, I can't. So what card was it? It was a Demanding Dragon, which we are going to let the damage go through. Not even... Yeah, can I do 20 damage, though? Do I have to sack a creature here? Demanding Dragon was actually pretty good. Are you kidding me? I don't know if I can do 20 damage. I think I have to kill something. All right. Ugh. That is ridiculous. I don't know if that was the right move or the wrong move, or... And I got stuck with the land on top. So Rhonas Monument. At this point, we can go just an elf. Because I can still die to a... Not really. I take 5 damage next turn. Opponent has 1 card in hand, because it could be a lightning strike. I think we have to go at Chandra again. I can't believe Demanding Dragon was the card. I'd take a damage if I... So if I go Oasis... This is a tough call. So I'm going to go Rishkar here for sure. Oh, jeez! Oh, that was... I was trying to do counters here. Whoops. Not on the elf. That was a dumb move. See if my opponent wants to kill the Demanding Dragon to save Chandra. Does not. So let's threaten lethal next turn. And I guess I should have done that first, but I think I played this one pretty terrible. So then the Memorial can get the... oh yeah, that's not the Scryland. So my opponent has to be able to do 6 damage. So it's got to be a Wizard Lightning and a... And it was a land. My opponent already showed me a land. Volcanic Dragon. So I'm taking 9 going to 2. Pretty close. I think my opponent drew pretty horrible there. So... Sometimes better lucky than good, because I definitely played this poorly. And my opponent dies on the backswing. So, just to show you what this deck can do, let's just go crazy here. This will draw a ton of cards. And we would be able to do it all over again. And draw through our deck again. And then I'm just going to finish it off. And a ton of damage down the drain. So we're 2-2. Not where I... Not the best showing. I don't know if my opponent messed up by actually killing the... I mean, I didn't have an Explore card. My opponent didn't know that with the Wildgrowth Walker. Alright, so someone with a Chandra picture means we are definitely playing against Burn, right? Hey, I'm actually playing a Vivian picture, and I'm playing green. Look at that. See, it rings true. Raw Falcone is the opponent. See what our opponent decides to do with their hand. So one of the issues I do have is all the AFKers in Arena. It still is a problem. Get people that queue up and then go do something because they have forever to decide what to do with their hand before that clock starts going down. This is a decent hand. It's really bad against red. Red gets to go first. If it is a red deck, it's a black deck, so we're in better shape. We'll lead off with a Memorial of Unity. And then, again, we'll have more Memorial of Unity the next turn. However, we have heavy 4-drops. And, of course, draw another 4-drop. So far, no duress. If we get the other, what's the 3-mana duress called? Lord of the Accursed. Okay, we're going to get zombies, which is one of my favorite matchups. Opponent does have a pretty quick hand, but this is really going to accelerate our hand. With the be able to turn do Vizier, Menagerie into Merfolk Branchwalker gives us a blocker. We need to find our Wildgrowth Walker as quickly as possible. This could be a Liliana here. I don't know what my opponent has, like a ton of Liliana's Masteries in hand, or I mean, only having Lord of the Accursed on turn with no other zombies on turn 4 is quite pathetic to say the least for zombies. But again, it could be like full of just the removal at this point. So we have double Vizier the Menagerie, so that's what we're going to play. One of the Viziers first. And then if we have something off the top of our label, that's always better to cast than a Merfolk Branchwalker. So Merfolk Branchwalker is going to... Rhonas is a pretty good card, but I think I ditch it. I don't think Rhonas is necessary for this. Murder. Okay. Now we... Yeah, I'd rather hit lands. Rhonas. Yeah, I really do think Rhonas goes away. Hopefully you don't end up regretting this. Opponent has to Fatal Push the Merfolk Branchwalker if that's the case. And if that's the case, then my opponent's not really establishing a board state. Again, I want to hit lands. Yeah, Fatal Push it is. Because lands allow me to do a Vizier and Jadelight Ranger this turn. In fact, if I don't hit a land, I think I Jadelight Ranger. So Liliana's Mastery could come out here. Gaunty. I'm glad I got rid of that Rhonas, because Rhonas could be used against me here. Unfortunately, though, my opponent can actually get some pretty decent cards, like a Vizier of their own. But there are a lot of meh cards, too. Snaps one up pretty quickly. And I'm going to take 2. Again, I feel pretty far ahead, though, with double removal spell, 5 lands, nothing out, only 4 power on board. Hit a land here, we're in decent shape. There we go. Beautiful. At this point, I might just wait until my opponent's out of... to cast a Vizier. I don't think we need to go nuts quite yet. I'd like to hit land drops. So we'll graveyard that. And there's the land. And we have Armorcraft Judge just to draw a card. And there's the other Vizier the Menagerie, so we can be pretty liberal with our casting of the Vizier next turn. I can definitely just give up the Armorcraft for Gaunty if we're worried about damage. Death Baron I don't care about. And a Rishkar. So probably going to put a counter on the Gaunty. So found one of my better cards. But we get to go crazy next turn. I think I just take the damage. Even if my opponent attacks with the Lord of the Accursed. Kind of a weird attack with Lord of the Accursed. We're going to take it, though. And this turn we get to go nuts. So start off with the Vizier. And throw it on the Jadelight Ranger. Yep, get rid of that card. That's why I like these Explorer cards with... Armorcraft Judge, huh? And that's really all I can do is attacking for 7 this turn. I'm out of stuff to do. That was kind of lackluster having that one on top. Oh, we could actually die pretty easily next turn. Again, though, where's all the early... Where's the Wildgrowth Walkers? Where's many cards? Just ran into Armorcraft Judge again. 4 of them, and three Armorcrafts, 3 Viziers. Highly doubt my opponent blocks. I think it'd be a terrible block. Oh, weird block. Really weird block. I will block with my Armorcraft Judge if I need to block. Say my opponent puts out another pump spell. I will block with both of them because I do. Yeah, Death Baron means I have to block the Gaunty. My opponent has to be careful, though, because I think I have lethal on the backswing. Because I don't want to block with the Diviner because the Armorcraft Judge allows for some bigger draws. Opponent is in a weird position. Opponent wants like a murder. Kind of a weird target as well. Okay, so I have to block one of these. So Armorcraft Judge is just going to go in the front of a Lord of the Accursed. And see if we can do 18 damage on the backswing. Do you know what? We might need to double block. Death Touch, Death Touch. This does not have... This dumbs it down. Maybe I do need to go on the defensive. So I go down to a 3. But this dumbs down my opponent's stuff to then... I draw no cards, though, if I let this... I give this up. Still think that's the right play. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to hit some lands or non-lands off the top, and I have a feeling I'm gonna hit a land on the top and just die. Rishkar! Rishkar's good here. Rishkar was great. So we do hit a land off this top, draw 2 cards. There's a Llanowar Elf off the top as well. Now, do I die if I have 3 blockers back and my opponent draws a removal spell? The Menace can't happen. We actually have another blocker. No Death Touch on this Death Baron. Alright, I'll put you on the backswing here. Opponent. Oh, wow! Opponents can actually block. I think I'm okay with that. Opponent's down to a 9. And that one does not have Death Touch. My opponent forgot it had Death Touch. It lost Death Touch because of the other Death Baron. Sometimes you actually... Yeah! You get lucky again with opponents making... non-optimal plays. The Grave Marshal is... These come to play tap, correct? Yes. Tap creatures. I don't think my opponent can survive a back attack here. Yeah, I don't care about Death Baron being exiled. I do have to block Gaunty, but these Llanowar Elves are just going to chump block. Yeah, that'd be a very, very terrible attack to attack the Lord of the Accursed. Okay, so Memorial, and we have a Diviner. So we don't want to cast this Memorial. What we want to do is just cast as many of the creatures off the top of our library as possible. So I'm going to put these on the Armorcraft Judge. Spread the damage here. At this point, we can keep the Jadelight on top. Still a decent little card. And now we want to give the Trample... I think we just do pump up Armorcraft as big as possible. And we're going to throw this in the graveyard. Finds us a land. And there is a land on top. However, now we get to get the Armorcraft Judge to draw us quite a bit of cards. This time I think we're going to give the Vizier trample. Nope, I still think we go on the Armorcraft, because we can tap the Vizier for mana because of Rishkar. Unfortunately, we hit some Wildgrowth Walkers way late, but they're good. Yeah, I think Vizier, since we don't plan on casting another Vizier, we can throw this one on the Vizier. And then we can cast Llanowar Elves on the Armorcraft Judge, or Rishkar here can then now attack in. And I think that might be enough damage. And 1, 2, 3. We don't want to cast this last one, so combat. And then attack. And then all attackers. I think that's enough, because trample, 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 and we have 11, 20 damage. My opponent can block 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 19. Yep. So there's the good old comboing off there. Opponent had a weird hand, very slow, awkward, but so did we. So we're kind of on par there. So 5 damage going through there with that block. 4 damage going through there. Oh, decides not to block that route. So 4 damage, 5 damage, and 2 damage. 4 damage, 5 damage, 2 damage, 1 damage. That is lethal. Trample is a thing, my friends. There is the combo doing what the combo does best. Alrighty. So, if nothing else, we end up going 3-3 if we lose this next one. So, gotta be happy with that after our kind of rough start there. See if we can win this out. Doesn't matter how many losses you get, as long as you get to that 7. Another thing I like about this deck is it's very, very quick. It is a fast little combo deck that either loses fast or wins fast. It's exactly the type of deck I think you should be playing on Arena if you're looking to build a collection. Unfortunately, we are seeing these mulligans quite a bit this game with the Void being in our opening hand. We want to see a Void and a land. Thank you very much. And again, I don't know. I don't know how much I want the 4 of. Maybe we should go down to a 2 of. Maybe the memorials are too high. Those are all things that need to be. This is only my second league with this particular deck. So all those questions will be answered by playing a bunch of this deck repetitively. Very keepable hand. We can throw the Memorial of Unity. Our opponent molds to 6. We mold to 6. We have our Rhonas Monument. We have our opponent's molding to 5. We have Jadelight Ranger and a Diviner. We're going to actually put this land on the bottom, as our good old friends will probably find us lands that we don't even want at this point. We do want to find a few more lands. We'll go the Memorial of Unity here. And then we have the Diviner turn 2. Even a better case scenario is we get a Wildgrowth Walker. Then we'll go Wildgrowth Walker and then Jadelight Ranger. Nope. We get a card that is going to be very awkward with our current. Definitely library of that. We have a 1/4 that is actually quite problematic for my opponent to try to deal with. They're like wizards. Nope. They are not wizards. So we get the Rhonas Monument out here. Getting it for 1 damage, because that 1 damage is very, very important. Now, our opponent, no matter what, is going to be taking cast triggers to the face. So even if they counter these spells, we're going to be in great shape. Alright, so we'll lead off here with the good old Jadelight Ranger. And again, even if it does get countered, it's still getting in for the damage, for the plus. So reduces. And Llanowar Elves are nice since we missed our land drop. They kind of are a land drop that also feeds our guy down to 14. 2 cards still left in hand. Opponent has a lot of cards in hand, though. Can use the Rubble. Rubble doesn't really matter. Opponent's going to opt to try to hit that land drop, which is a good sign for us. If our opponent does hit a land drop, probably plays the land drop, and I wouldn't be too surprised if there was a Rubble here. Thinking a Braid is more likely. Why wouldn't they use an Braid earlier, though, on the Monument? Because Rubble's actually quite weak, because I can just... okay, Rubble's very, very weak here, because this gives me a free out. Unfortunately, it's a terrible Scry land. Rishkar can stay on top. I think Rishkar's actually pretty decent here. I think we just want to hit cast triggers. We are untapping next turn. We're Rishkaring. Makes I'll put the counters on probably the Llanowar Elves, to be honest, because that gives us some Armorcraft Judge outs. So we're kind of in the same position we were. Opponent's going to pass a turn. Don't have to worry about Settle the Wreckage because it is the wrong colors to do that. Start off here with a beautiful Jadelight Ranger on our Diviner. Gets countered. Then so be it. It does not get countered. It does get countered. It does not get countered. It does. Our opponent is contemplating. Hindsight, I should have gone Rishkar first. I think Rishkar is the weaker. Going to shock. Okay, we'll float a mana. One's going to want that shock back. Disallow, huh? Down to a 4. Counter, counter, shock, shock, counter, counter, counter. All right. Chandra has to play defensively here. Has to kill the Rishkar.
You wanna go
and then die. Yep. It's over. I can crack a Hashep Oasis.
See ya.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that still works. It tapped my elf, but I was like, oh, that would have been bad there. I was expecting to have me pay for the mana rather than go for the Oasis. Almost screwed up there. I was like, why is it making me pay that one mana for the pay life? It usually asks you first, and then I realized it taps my Llanowar Elf because this game is literally retarded. All right, so we'll go to, or I'm literally retarded, one of the two. We're up to 4 wins. But yeah, you can take that auto-tapping feature off. I probably should, other than it gets so clunky. And again, the name of the game with Arena, especially while you're building a collection, is to play as fast as possible. It's going to make you a bad player for Paper Magic because you're going to have to get yourself out of that mindset. But I do like it because it's I'm a Dota player, I'm a StarCraft 2 player, ex-StarCraft player, where it's always the best thing to be doing things quickly. Rather than mainly correctly. And so, Arena, you got to kind of take that mentality that the faster you can play through these games, a lot of times the more games you can play, meaning the more rewards you will get. If you, especially in the quick constructed, if you're even semi-decent, you win back your... we're actually above. I think we get 650 gold back right now if we lose our next match for going 4 and 3. And then you get the 3 cards, and that's getting you closer toward your collection, getting those vaults triggered. Has anyone actually cracked their vault since the vault change? Apparently it's still there, but I have no evidence of that of that's the case. Very, very good hand. I actually want to be going up against red if this is a red hand or red deck, because we do have the Wildgrowth Walker into double Merfolk Branchwalker. So, come on, Lily. A wet fart. That name has not been banned. A wet fart. Okay. Hopefully it's not one of these opponents that just tries to make you get frustrated and scoop it up. Alright, so we are going against a red deck, and we actually get another land, which I did want. And here it comes. If our opponent does shock, we're in great shape. Ugh, another red-blue deck. Is Grixis the flavor of the week now? The Scrap Heat Scrounger? Alright, that's fine. Well, we do have to worry about Unlicensed Disintegration. I could just chuck out a... we definitely want that on top. First blood is mine. I just pushed F6 for no reason, because F6 does not work on this in this game. Yeah, that's the thing. Maybe the MTGO, they should have kind of made the same hotkeys. Alright, so Aether Hub coming out here. We can die to Unlicensed, or have our creature die to Unlicensed Disintegration. Sarkhan Fireblade, it's over. Wildgrowth Walker is going to get out of control here. 2 mana or discard a card. Discard a card, draw a card. Decides to do so. Sarkhan's actually dead on the backswing, as we pump up the jams, pump it up, pump it up. 2 Merfolk Branchwalker is better than the Jadelight Ranger here, or is a Jadelight Ranger better? Jadelight Ranger and attack-in's better. Is it better? This will put it up, and then goes to 3. So, yeah, this is better. At this point, I don't think I need it. Yeah, we'll get that next time. Goodbye, Sarkhan. You did loot a card and absorb 4 damage for whatever that's worth. But you are not getting a Demanding Dragon out this turn, or a Glorybringer. And our Wildgrowth Walker is above. Nicol Bolas is going to force me to discard a card. In all honesty, I think Rhonas is the weak card here. Kind of crazy I'm throwing a Rhonas away. No blockers. We will race. It is race time for our opponent. Here, I don't know if an Armorcraft Judge is the right call, or a Rhonas Monument is definitely the right call. We can actually survive now on the Jadelight Ranger if my opponent wanted to block. Opponent thinks they can race. This is a very interesting card to keep on top. We will. All right, you better have something amazing off the top. It needs to be called Glorybringer, my friend. Has to be a Glorybringer. I can't think of any other card. Oh, and that's a tap land. So the Grixis Dragons are going to come in all awkward here with not being able to protect. Chandra's not going to do anything. Chandra, I think Chandra has to kill my Jadelight Ranger. I don't think there's any way around it. Better case scenario is to +2 a Braid. So Grixis Dragons, this is a...
Oh, this is gonna hurt.
On the Jadelight Ranger was the wrong move, my friend. How come no one respects the Rhonas Monument? No one respects the Rhonas Monument. I kill you on the backswing anyway. Look, you know what's on top. That was a weird little... Yeah, okay. I mean, there wasn't a lot my opponent could have done anyway with that, but there are so many games your opponents will abrade your creatures, and that is... Rhonas Monument is a threat. It is a massive threat. It is a huge synergy to this deck. Cool, we get a reward that we can't even look at because Arena still does it whenever you click on cards. We're at 5 wins. 5 wins, 2 to go. And again, we've pushed through this pretty good. A 20-minute deck tech. Now we're into an hour into this video, I believe, and, you know, played 7 games. So again, that's exactly Can't stand playing Quick Construct and people playing, like, Approach the Second Sun or Teferi Control. I'm like, that must be miserable to get through a league. Miserable. And if they want the experience, they should probably be playing the more competitive Constructive. I know that's going to take even longer with 3 matches, but still. The risk is a little bit higher. It's 1,000 coins, and you get a little bit higher of a payoff. All right, another beautiful hand. Now, so we had some pretty terrible hands at the start. Now we're finding some really good hands. If this elf goes unanswered, we go turn 2 Rhonas Monument, and if we're playing a control deck, that's going to be very, very tough for my opponent to come back from. If it gets shocked, we still have the... All right, nope, it's going to be a mirror. All right. I don't even care about a Steel Leaf champion. You can Steel Leaf me all day here, because we are getting a Wildgrowth Walker and a Vizier out next turn. No one cares about a Johnny's Welcome, or an attacking with a 1 Llanowar Elf. In fact, I might decide to crack back, because I'm... Nope. That's a better play. Here's your Menagerie. It's going to find us a land on the top, so we'll just Wildgrowth Walker. And we'll pass the turn. Well, look at that. How's that for a turn 3? We have 3 lands, an artifact, and 3 creatures on board. Our opponent's got a Johnny's Welcome that I don't care if there's Crested Sunmares. We can push through Crested Sunmares galore. All right, yeah, this is going to be the a sapling deck. Yes, gain your life. Let's see. We do need to find some good cards off top. So, that's not where we want to be, but we will 100%. Let's see. Do I want to... Yeah, we want a Rishkar first. No, we don't. We want a Vizier because I can always Rishkar. Armorcraft Judge. Perfect. So, I want to pump this one up. And we probably want to go on the other... Well, we probably go on the 2 Viziers. Fortunately, it's kind of a lackluster Armorcraft Judge. But I can do some pretty crazy stuff with the Song of Freyalise off the top, so maybe I shouldn't be counting my chickens before they hatch here. As Take Vengeance, that was just rude. A card that is very unplayable. Alright, so we get a Merfolk Branchwalker. We won't be attacking with Viziers. This can go on top, fine. Whoops, I thought I said on top and then it got rid of it anyway. Okay. We get a counter though. Yep, this is good. Draw 3 cards, unfortunately. One of them is called Rhonas Monument. And we can, yep, we can do Ghalta even. Fortunately, we get a land next turn. That's actually not terrible. And we will attack with the Wildgrowth Walker. Swinging in for 8. So what can my opponent have? Settle the Wreckage is coming up, so we do have to worry about that. That way, I think we just... Nope, Settle the Wreckage can't happen. That is game. Unless my opponent has something crazy. Yep, that's not going to do it. Scoop it up, my friend. You can't even block a Ghalta. Alrighty. Kind of, again, seeing a lot of weaker decks here. I wonder if the rumors are true that you're matched up against... Apparently, they're implementing a way to balance against card choices that you put in decks. We did just go against like a bunch of grixis, where I think... But how they're trying to determine is based upon how many wild cards are used to redeem certain cards. It's going to put a point system into place where... you know, the more of these tier decks will then get paired up against other tier decks, and non-tier decks will get paired up against non-tier decks, which is, it's bittersweet for me because, again, I've built this deck to beat tier decks, especially red. And so if I'm going to see less red decks, but this deck actually is very well against non-red, like any sort of creature-based deck. I think this deck has a huge advantage towards because it just goes over the top of them. This isn't a hand that I am too fond of if I'm going against red, because of the 2 Oasises. So 2 Oasises, 2 Branchwalkers, a Wildgrowth Walker, though, but this beauty of an Armorcraft Judge and a Rhonas Monument. So We'll lead off here with the Oasis, and then we've got a second turn Wildgrowth Walker. Ooh, it is a Beaumont Courier. I will throw out the Wildgrowth Walker. If that's the case, they do have the Lightning Strike. I'm going to cry. But it is what it is. There's just too much of an upside. Has to be Lightning Strike, and that's it. My opponent has to have a Lightning Strike. So no Lightning Strike. Soulscar Mage will not do it. Could have a Shock. Wizard's Lightning. Okay, it's the Wizard's version. Alright, never mind. We're screwed. I do need to hit a land off the top. If we hit a land off the top, we could be in decent shape. Alright, we did not hit a land off the top. But we do have this thing called Pay a Life to pay mana, so we're definitely dead versus this red deck. Which would have been a great hand without that Wizard Lightning. We find insult to injury. Oh my goodness. I think this is okay because we can play an extra and Rhonas Monument. Yep. And it's still a blocker. My opponent's got to kill. Chain Whirler's probably going to come down. Shock is fine. We're actually not in that terrible shape. Yes, we are. Got the God Hand for the Wizard. This is the type of hand I like to have. Because the Beaumont Courier, we get state 2. In fact, I might need to put out a Wildgrowth Walker over Rhonas Monument. Do I die next turn? Draws 3 cards. Rhonas Monument. Then draws a ton of cards. Put out a blocker. Does a blocker... It most likely will die, so I think Rhonas Monument. It's a hard choice. But, I mean, the Beaumont Courier goes basically unchallenged. Another Beaumont Courier. That's actually one of the weaker draws possible. We're taking 3 here. Possibly more if I get Wizard Lightninged. Lightning Striked. I'm surprised my opponent... Okay, so my opponent wants to crack the Beaumont Courier. Is how it works. That's a decent little card because it allows us a blocker. Other than we're so dead to so many cards off that Beaumont Courier. There's no way we're out of this. We needed that... Needed the Wildgrowth Walker. Possibly I should have played around it. Possibly I should have had the foresight to think. A lot of times I don't like to do that, but we would have baited out the Wizard Lightning on the Merfolk Branchwalker, and then my opponent would have had another possible Lightning Strike for it, though. Yeah, pretty meh. This I think I need to hit a green, just so I don't take another damage, but... There's not a lot of things I can draw out of this, so... Oh my goodness, this has to go to the graveyard, unfortunately. Well, we could try to library it. And Armorcraft Judge here is the better play. Unfortunately, look what this does to us. I think I've done like 4 or 5 damage with this stupid Oasis. We get to draw a card. So pretty sure Beaumont Courier cracks in a turn here. And with a little bit of luck, our opponent can draw 5 lands in a row. Because we are dead to any shock spell. Any spell. But that was the God Draw for Wizards. That is exactly why people play it. And there we have it. So I end up going, what, 6-3? Not terrible. Not terrible. Probably should have played that different. These two Oases. Again, just the runs of these cards we were experiencing. The runs of too many of one card. And not enough of a spread of different cards. For... these matchups. I don't think that the 4 life even mattered at that point, though. Let's claim the prizes here. See what we get. We get 800 coins. We get a Ovia of the Pashiri Sage Life Crafter. Kind of a cool card for brews. If I even have any time left to brew with this card. Deadeye Plunderer, completely worthless. And an Ariel Knight of Windgrace, which I already have 4 of. So, again, going towards the vault would be awesome here. There is a Knight deck that does run this. Hope you enjoyed this update to the Monument to the Menagerie. We'll show you some updates for the Oaketcher's Monument, for all the other cards that we play. And as always, you can catch me on streaming. I can't name the platform that I stream on because that gets flagged on YouTube if you say the T word. So I'm not going to say the T word, but you can find me at the other place that streams videos, not called YouTube. /Rogue Deck Builder, and I might actually even start streaming on YouTube. maybe they actually want to compete rather than try to bully people from talking about their competitor. Maybe that YouTube will set up a platform where YouTube gaming is as nice to stream on as the T-word is. Anyway, this has been Kevin with Rogue Deck Builder. Thanks for watching.